Almost 1 year after the kidnapping that shook the world, members of Bring Back Our Girls demonstrate in Abuja. Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton announces her 2016 presidential bid. And Apple does it again. Customers go wild over the tech company's trendy watch. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Linor Moudou. This is Africa 54. Vincent McCurry is off today. On tonight's show, we'll have those stories in a moment, but first, Kenyan students at the University of Nairobi remained shaken on Monday following a stampede that took place at the school early Sunday morning. Now, many of them are calling for a more serious effort by the Kenyan government to protect them from harm. The scary incident occurred at around 4:30 a.m. local time as students mistook an electric transformer explosion as a terrorist attack and stampeded down the halls of their dormitory. Some students jumped from the windows of the building. One student died and more than 140 others were injured and were taken to the hospital. One student leader has serious reservations about the security systems in place at Kenyan schools and universities.
Today is a very sad day for comrades, not only the University of Nairobi, but throughout the country. Security, or the lack of it in this country, has become an issue that we not only need to condemn, but we need the government to take very serious recognition. We are from Garissa, barely a fortnight, and we have over 150 students injured because of a scare on the same issue. What has the government done to ensure that there is a security within learning institutions in this country? They have done almost nothing.
The incident highlighted the panic among students after 148 people were killed in an Al-Shabaab attack on Garissa University College less than 2 weeks ago. As part of a new Get Path response to the killings at Garissa University, Kenyan officials have given the United Nations Refugee Agency 3 months to relocate the massive Dadaab refugee camp, the world's largest, to inside Somalia's border. The facility currently houses nearly 600,000 Somali refugees. Kenya has in the past accused Islamist militants of hiding out in the camp, located in a remote, dry corner of northeast Kenya. In a written statement, Deputy President William Ruto says Kenya has asked the UNHCR to relocate the refugees within 3 months, and if they fail to do so, authorities in Nairobi will do so themselves. The UNHCR has not commented on the request to move the camp. Now to the presidential election in Sudan. Voting started on Monday, and up to 13 million voters are expected to go to the polls over the next 3 days in the country's first presidential ballot since South Sudan seceded in 2011. The election is being boycotted by the main opposition parties. VOA's Gabe Josler reports from Khartoum.
Sudan is beginning 3 days of voting today in general elections, although there's really no doubt about who the winner is going to be. President Omar al-Bashir is running basically uncontested as all the major opposition parties have boycotted the vote. Now, Mr. Bashir is also riding high on popular support due to improved ties in the region, but the international community is still critical of his human rights record, and human rights groups have complained about closing political space and a crackdown on civil society. Love him or hate him, the world's going to have to get ready for 5 more years of President Bashir. Gabe Joslo, VOA News, Khartoum.
And for the very latest on the first day of voting in Sudan, Gabe Joslo now joins us on the phone from Khartoum. Hello, Gabe.
Hello, how are you?
Good. More than 13 million people have registered to vote. How is the turnout so far?
The turnout has actually been pretty underwhelming. We've gone to a few polling stations today, and there have been very few lines, very few voters. We've spoken to a few supporters of President Bashir, but not very many people are coming out. One station we saw, it was all just police officers who appeared to have been bussed in for the vote. So aside from that, it's been rather quiet.
So President al-Bashir is said to win this election, given that there is no significant opposition. Clearly, he faces some challenges ahead, regardless.
Yeah, he is. Aside from the fact that the opposition is particularly disgruntled about the current administration, the president still faces numerous internal conflicts, including conflicts still going on in South Kordofan and Nile states with rebels near the South Sudan border, as well as the ongoing conflict in Darfur, for which the president is under International Criminal Court a warrant for his arrest for genocide crimes committed in the early 2000s. So these challenges and continued isolation from the West will continue to haunt the president going forward.
Now, after 26 years of ruling the country, what is his campaign message essentially to the voters?
Well, that's the thing, is that domestically he still looks very strong. The president has made new, stronger ties in the region. If you recall the New Deal to share Nile River resources with Egypt and Ethiopia. And he's also got stronger ties with Saudi Arabia, thanks to Sudan's involvement in the Saudi-led military operations in Yemen. So these developments are sort of promising for Sudan, and they make Mr. Bashir and his administration look pretty good at home.
But you said that his administration looks pretty good at home. However, there is a low turnout. What does this tell us in terms of what the average person in the country feels about his work?
Well, I think there's just a sense of inevitability about this vote, really. So you have a lot of ambivalence from people who are either a bit tired of the government and just don't see any point in voting. And then you also have his supporters who say, well, he's going to win anyway, so what's the point in coming out? I think that's really the measure I'm getting of the polls. But clearly there are challenges he faces at home. And despite some of this sort of new surge in support and looking strong in the region, it's always going to be a tricky time for him.
Quickly, 2 more days to go. What are some expectations?
We're expecting more of the same. Today was a holiday, but people will go back to work as usual in the next coming days. I think we might even see lower voter turnout over the next 2 days than today. Okay,
Gabe, thank you so much for joining us. And that was VOA's Gabe Joselo reporting from Khartoum, Sudan. Now turning to the governorship races in Nigeria, sporadic political violence erupted Saturday in the West African nation, with 7 people killed as voters went to the polls to elect governors and other state representatives. Voters are electing 36 state governors, with 29 of the races contested. Turnout appeared to be weaker than in the national presidential election 2 weeks ago, when Muhammadu Buhari ousted incumbent Goodluck Jonathan. Election monitors reported the 7 people were killed in Rivers State. An office of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Buguma was bombed, and other violence was reported in Lagos, Delta, Ebonyi, and Akwa states. Nigeria's 36 state governors are among the most powerful political figures in the nation, that is Africa's biggest oil producer and top economy. Meanwhile, some 100 members of the Bring Back Our Girls group gathered Monday in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, to hold a prayer meeting to commemorate the upcoming first anniversary of the kidnappings of the schoolgirls in Chibok. The 276 students were kidnapped by the Islamist militant group Boko Haram on April 14, 2014, from a government-run secondary school in Borno State. Most of the girls have yet to be found. Members of the group say they have not given up hope in the strength of prayers.
I've tried the physical aspect. We also need to bring in the supernatural aspect. And so for both Muslims and Christians, this is an opportunity for us to reconnect with God, to ask for God to give us the empowerment to be able to continue with the advocacy, and if possible, to have a divine intervention that will enable the girls to be brought back as quickly as possible.
And on Saturday here in Washington, Act for Accountability, Amnesty International USA, the Africa's Daughters Foundation, and several other groups held a Bring Back Our Girls Solidarity March, also commemorating the 1-year anniversary since the April 14th, 2014 kidnapping of nearly 300 girls from the government secondary school in Chibok. U.S. President Barack Obama met over the weekend with Cuban leader Raul Castro for the first time since announcing his intention last December to normalize relations with communist Cuba. The meeting happened at the Summit of the Americas in Panama. VOA White House correspondent Luis Ramirez tells us more.
It was something that few would imagine seeing anytime soon. The American and Cuban presidents sitting down to talk about normalizing ties after more than a half-century as enemies.
This is obviously a historic meeting. The history between the United States and Cuba is obviously complicated, and over the years, a lot of mistrust has developed.
But Mr. Obama said it is time to turn the page, and Cuban President Raul Castro agreed.
I think that fundamentally, what the president has expressed to you reflects the same as what we are thinking.
The two acknowledged there are differences that exist between the two governments. This scene showing Castro supporters attacking Cuban dissidents outside the Cuban embassy in Panama is a reminder that Cuba's human rights record remains a thorny issue. Mr. Castro said he is willing to discuss everything, and President Obama says he will continue to raise U.S. concerns on political freedoms in Cuba. But the U.S. leader wants to focus on the future and says he is not caught up in ideology.
The Cold War has been over for a long time. And I'm not interested in having battles that, frankly, started before I was born.
President Obama says he came to the summit to boost his engagement with the hemisphere. At this summit, usually ignored by the U.S. media, a handshake and words of conciliation marked the start of a major shift of the landscape. Luis Ramirez, VOA News, Panama City.
On the U.S. political front, a short time ago, Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio told top donors of his plans to officially jump into the race to become the next U.S. president in 2016. On Sunday, in a highly anticipated announcement, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton formally entered the race and is the immediate frontrunner for the Democratic Party's nomination. VOA's Michael Bowman reports Republicans are already taking aim at the one-time senator and former First Lady who is making her second bid for the White House.
I'm running for president.
Hillary Clinton made it official, posting a web video highlighting the struggles and aspirations of ordinary citizens and proclaiming her desire to work for them.
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
The wife of former President Bill Clinton is focused on domestic concerns.
Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top.
But her tenure as America's top diplomat during President Barack Obama's first term will bring scrutiny, including her use of a private email account for official business and State Department decision-making before the deadly 2012 assault on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya.
We had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? What difference at this point does it make?
Already, Republican ads vilify Hillary Clinton's management style and record.
Hillary Clinton represents the worst of the Washington machine. The arrogance of power, corruption and cover-up, conflicts of interest, and failed leadership with tragic consequences.
2012 Republican presidential contender Mike Huckabee.
She's tied to the Obama administration. I don't think that is a plus for her.
Secretary of State John Kerry is defending his predecessor.
Secretary of State Clinton did a terrific job of rebuilding alliances that had been shredded over the course of the prior years.
Mr. Obama is weighing in too.
She was an outstanding Secretary of State. She is my friend. I think she would be an excellent president.
I don't think emails or Benghazi will be deal breakers.
Political analyst Charlie Cook says Hillary Clinton is one of America's best-known public figures, for better or worse. With no Democratic challengers stepping up so far, she has a unique task ahead.
Hillary Clinton is going to be running against herself. I mean, she's got to show herself relevant in a 21st century. She's got to be more future-oriented than past.
And she must stand on her own despite being married to an ex-president and having served an administration that faces challenges from Ukraine to Yemen. Sunday, she attempted to reintroduce herself to an American public frustrated with Washington and an electorate that rarely gives the White House to the same political party for 3 consecutive terms. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
And we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, law classes educate inmates at Kenya's Langata Women's Prison. Stay with us.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Welcome back. At a women's prison in Nairobi, Kenyan inmates are taking the law into their own hands. Here again is VOA's Gabe Joslow reporting on how law classes have helped inmates launch their own appeals and defend themselves in court.
Most criminal liabilities arising out of acts.
In a classroom behind bars, 3 inmates and a prison officer learn the basics of common law.
Intention of killing.
Inmate Rose Musioki says these classes have given her the chance of a lifetime.
And it has been my childhood dream to do law, but due to some unavoidable circumstances like lack of finance, I've not been able to do it. So like when this chance came in, I gave it a trial, and now I'm in it, I'm doing it.
And already she's put her lessons into practice, successfully helping another inmate to appeal a sentence for kidnapping by arguing that the accused was under duress at the time.
And when she went there, the prosecution had nothing against it. They never even said anything. When she raised just that defense, the prosecution was asked, do you have anything against her? They said, no, Your Honor. That was the big achievement.
Langata Women's Prison holds about 600 inmates, serving sentences ranging from a few days to life behind bars. Some are awaiting trial, others have exhausted their appeals. Accustomed to being on the wrong side of the law, the prisoners get a new perspective through the education program. Jane Ouma, for example, is serving a 14-year sentence for assaulting her husband's mistress. She says if she knew then what she knows now, she could have done better than her own lawyer.
I would have been in a much better position than when I got my lawyer. He didn't turn up in court. He gave me a student lawyer who was just practicing law, and I thought I did not get the right representation.
The program is the work of a non-profit group called the African Prisons Project. Students work toward a 2-year diploma in common law from the University of London. Then, when good legal advice is hard to come by, these jailhouse advocates can step in. Sam Breyer is a consultant with the project.
They're not quite at the level where they are equivalent to a lawyer, but they're always going to be available, and they're always going to be able to provide that kind of support. We think the impact at the end of the day is going to be substantially larger than if we took the funds that we have and put them into just bringing a lawyer in 1 day a week.
Only a handful of inmates gain acceptance into the prison's education programs. Most spend their days in workshops like this, making handicrafts to be sold at the prison welfare office, or maybe working in the kitchen to feed other inmates and staff. Corrections officers here say teaching these skills gives inmates something to do when they get out. Education officer Jacqueline Onyango says learning the law can also keep people out of prison altogether.
When people are more equipped with knowledge, there'll be less people committing offenses, because most of them commit these offenses out of ignorance. And a more knowledgeable society is easier to deal with.
Many prisoners here say they are disillusioned with the Kenyan courts, but as law students, they have a chance to prove that a person is not powerless to challenge the system just because she is behind bars. Gabe Joselo, VOA News, Nairobi.
And there is a community oven in Senegal that is working to keep traditional bread making alive. Africa 54's Mel Bailey takes us behind the scenes for a closer look.
For centuries, bread makers from Guinea have ground roots and grains to produce flour in order to bake bread. Now that tradition is moving north and across country lines.
This is what we call tapa lapa, the original from Guinea Conakry. It's what our ancestors taught us. That's how we know how to make it. Now we're trying to preserve and maintain the tradition. This job is very important. It's the oldest form of bakery. The original tapa lapa dates back to a time when our grandparents didn't have electricity. They used a mud brick oven and wood to cook the bread.
At this particular oven, a group of 5 bakers work over 12 hours a day using their tradition to earn a living.
Every bag can hold up to 410 tapa lapas. In a day, we can make about 3,000 pieces of bread, sometimes more. See this? We weigh it and we sell it at 100 CFA. After we knead it to give it its length, and that's what makes it a tapa lapa.
Due to their long history of French colonization, one of the bread capitals of the world, Senegal is no newcomer to fresh-baked bread. But these bakers insist that their bread is healthier and better than anything you can find at a modern bakery.
The difference between what we do and what modern bakeries do is in the mixing process. They use a lot of ingredients, a machine, and ice, but we use only water, yeast, flour, and salt. And we knead in the flour with force. It's what helped give it flavor.
The process takes roughly 3 hours, then the bread is picked up and delivered twice a day to surrounding boutiques called tanganas, where they are sold for 100 CFA or about 15 cents each, depending on their size. This is Mel Bailey for Africa 54, Saly, Senegal.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, another mega hit for tech giant Apple. We'll be right back.
Relationships in the name of beautiful shoots that
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. A new Apple gadget draws big crowds. Customers flocked to Apple stores worldwide on Friday to get their first close-up look at the company's smartwatch, while online orders were backlogged until June. The trendy timepiece was available for pre-order online and to try out in stores by appointment, but not to take home. Soon after online pre-orders opened on Friday, Apple's website listed shipping times in June for some models of the watch and 4 to 6 weeks for others, raising questions about whether Apple underestimated demand for its newest product. Nearly 1 million people placed a pre-order for the cool new gadget. Next up, touchable virtual reality is here. British company Ultra Haptics has developed a unique technology that enables users to receive tactile sensations from invisible three-dimensional objects floating in midair. Using ultrasound to precisely project sensations through the air, users can feel and interact with virtual objects. The development team says the technology could even enable surgeons to explore a city, letting them to feel a disease such as a tumor. And finally, recognizable by their fashion sense and style, the hipster phenomenon typically defines itself as nonconformist. So why do so many of them look so much alike? Well, mathematician Jonathan Touboul from the Collège de France in Paris has devised a formula to try and explain this. He believes hipsters end up looking the same because they often keep making the same choices when they're too slow in detecting new trends. Touboul says he used hipsters as the base for his equation, but other groups that decide to go against the majority could also be used. And that's what's trending today. It's time for our Monday Sports Report. For the latest news and notes, we turn to Sunny Young with the Sunny Side of Sports. As Sunny, a new star was on fire in Augusta.
On fire indeed, Lenore. Sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Let's tee off with a masterful performance by 21-year-old Jordan Spieth at the Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, Georgia. The young American won his first major title in dominant fashion. Spieth led from start to finish, and his final score of 18 under par 270 tied Tiger Woods' 1997 tournament record. At 21 years, 8 months, Jordan is the second youngest Masters champion, behind only Tiger in 1997. Hey, Jordan, how does it feel to be wearing that green jacket given to the Masters champion?
It's incredible. It's one of the best feelings I've ever felt. This was arguably the greatest day of my life. And to join the club that is the Green Jackets and to join Masters history and put my name on that trophy and to have this jacket forever is something that I can't fathom right now.
In addition to that green jacket, Jordan Spieth earned $1.8 million in prize money and also moved up to number 2 in the world rankings behind Irish golfer Rory McIlroy, who finished 4th at the Masters, 6 shots behind Spieth. American Phil Mickelson and South Africa-born golfer Justin Rose tied for 2nd, 4 shots back. I'm VOA Sunny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Lenore?
Thank you so much, Sunny. Well, be sure to watch the Sunny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa, between 300 and 600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching, and good night from Washington.
We're able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54.
In a lively half hour, news, sports, health, lifestyle information, comments from our viewers. Africa 54, the best for Africa, about Africa. Join us only on VOA.